When I think back to being a kid, I explored everything. I wanted to complete the Emerald Pokédex and see if Deoxys was actually not just a playground myth, and I wanted to finally get the gold symbol from the battle pike after months of trying. These were inherently my goals, followed by my own curiosity and sense of adventure. If something fascinated me, I went all in. It didn't have to make logical sense, it just had to make sense to me. As I got older, I started what I now call the drift. And the drift is when your actions stop being defined by your own curiosity and start being dictated by external forces. Those forces can be your friends, your family, social media, your school/university, anything that's basically outside of your own brain. In 2014, most of my friends were taking gap years, but my parents thought that taking a gap year without a clear plan would just be wasting time. So even though I had no idea what I wanted to do in life, I drifted into studying chemistry. And this was simply because it was easier to let my parents suggest a direction for me than to sit and argue with them about what I actually wanted. Because honestly, I didn't know enough about myself to argue about this. I hadn't even researched the job market, and I didn't deeply question whether I actually wanted to spend years inside labs either. I just thought, if I can't do a gap year, then I'll just pick one and see what happens. Sometimes that works, but when it comes to something as big as a university degree, something that can shape years of your life, the let's see what happens, that was my first real experience with the drift. And over time, I started realizing that the drift can also be a positive force in our lives. Around 14 months ago, I started this channel Neosphere, and at the time, I'd been 2 years in the same job, which was a chemistry tech startup, with some really nice colleagues, and the salary was good as well, and honestly, I couldn't complain about it. But at the time, I was also in a long-distance relationship. So what I did was I really thought about the two paths I had in life, and I love doing this exercise occasionally. What happens if you stay and what happens if you jump? So I saw two paths. The first path was to stay in Aarhus, keep my job, and let the relationship slowly fade. And I'm saying this because we could definitely feel that this long-distance relationship was not gonna cut it for much longer. We both met in my hometown, but she had moved to Copenhagen to study medicine. And the other path is that I actually just decided to move to Copenhagen. I disrupt everything I have now. I knew that the job market was not gonna be easy, but I could just go there and see what happens, and I had thought that I wanted to try living somewhere outside of my hometown again at some point. If you don't know, I studied abroad in Cardiff and Wales, and I was craving that feeling again, which kind of got shut down during the lockdown when I thought about if I should move somewhere and try to live outside of my hometown. Maybe I'll feel some fear or maybe a lot of fear around this, but I will not know what happens unless I take the jump. In this case, I decided that taking the jump was more important than being comfortable in my hometown. And it also meant that our relationship would likely improve if I moved here because we could see each other more spontaneously. So I decided to take the jump. This was actually stepping into uncertainty on purpose because it was a conscious leap, while back when I decided on my university degree, it was more so that I didn't know what I wanted, so I just kind of drifted into it, where in this case, I actively decided that I want to take the leap. I want to drift into whatever Copenhagen has to offer. And funnily enough, when I came here, I started to apply for some jobs. I kept making a lot of Neosphere videos, and actually a lot of my most viewed videos was actually videos that I made just around the time where I was in the process of moving to Copenhagen, because my thoughts of jumping into uncertainty and talking about how confusing your 20s can be and how confusing my journey had been up to that point really resonated with a lot of people because it just felt so real. And I moved here without a clear plan, but interestingly, my girlfriend sent me this freelance photography gig for school photography, and at the time I had been a dating photographer on the side for 2 years, I think it was, so I had a small business around that. And you know what, I just decided, let me just apply for it. I mean, I don't have any experience with school photography, and this was kind of a case of drifting again, where I just decided to apply for it, and I ended up becoming a school photographer for 4 months, which actually gave me a really different perspective on working with something that's completely different from the chemistry work I was doing in my hometown. Sure, the salary was a bit lower. Honestly, I lost quite a bunch of money that I could have been earning if I had stayed at the tech startup. Alignment is just, to me, so much more important. So I don't mind falling quote-unquote behind to my peers. Even at this point, I'm building this YouTube channel and I'm building a business around it now for the people that do want my help. I'm offering that. But again, I don't know the path forward from now. I'm really enjoying being in this phase of openness, of uncertainty, of also kind of drifting into opportunities that come to me, but doing it intentionally. Because I remember when I reinvented myself socially by studying in Wales and going abroad, I was going there more so for the social benefits of trying to grow a friend circle in a completely new city rather than to ace my exams. And there I really proved to myself I could grow way beyond my expectations. I remember sitting with the question of, if I can change this much in a year, what else have I just accepted before? What else have I just drifted into? And there I was really starting to question my choice of studying chemistry. And that wasn't because I wasn't a good fit for chemistry or I didn't like my studies. I actually think back fondly of those times studying chemistry and the things that happened during my 5 years at university. But I was just kicking myself for a while because I was not the one who truly chose it. I just defaulted into it. By reinventing myself socially, I knew I had the evidence that I was capable of building something deliberately. So moving forward to now, Copenhagen, that wasn't my default. I would have probably moved outside of Denmark if I had never met my girlfriend or just stayed in my hometown. So I just think that made so much sense to follow the trail that was let out in this case for me to move to Copenhagen, to keep building my relationship and to see what kind of opportunities Copenhagen had to offer. I think drift becomes dangerous when it's used to avoid discomfort. When the emotion underneath is, I don't want to deal with this. When it's used to avoid conflict, to avoid self-reflection, to avoid the hard conversations like the one I could have had with my parents, and avoiding the key question of what do I actually want? When you allow yourself to drift into opportunities that are presented to you, so in other words, when it follows courage, I think drifting is really, really powerful. Because then you take the leap, you step into discomfort, then the drift is suddenly an avenue of exploration. That's the dividing line, avoidance versus courage. Had I stayed in my hometown, I would have avoided exploring what my current relationship could have been and what my journey here in Copenhagen could have been. So while I didn't choose to come here to Copenhagen all on my own, it was definitely helped by my girlfriend moving here before me. Then it just became an act of courage. Based on what I've told you here from my story, I want to give you some actionable insights you can take straight after finishing this video. So what you can do immediately is that just start asking yourself a couple questions. And this is what I want to take you through here. So number one, pick one big thing in your life right now. It could be your degree, your job, your relationship, or lack thereof, your city, your habits, or your health. And ask yourself, did I actively choose the situation I'm in, or did I default into it? I will say, don't judge yourself here. Just give yourself some clarity on where you are, whichever one of these areas you think is relevant to your life right now. And then you want to have a look at the emotion underneath. When you actually think about changing it, what do you feel? Do you feel excitement? Do you feel some fear? Do you feel a lot of resistance? If the resistance sounds like, I don't want to deal with this, that's drift driven by avoidance. If the fear sounds like, this could potentially change everything, but it's just a bit scary, but maybe I should go for it, that might be drift asking for a bit of courage to make a significant change in your life. I just want to emphasize that change doesn't have to be completely life-shattering and like turning your life upside down. It can also just be interrupting one small autopilot pattern. If you notice that you go to bed at 3 a.m. every single night and your sleep is completely trash, maybe that's something you should really question. Why am I staying up that late? Is it really benefiting me to play games until 3 a.m.? Or is it just me running from my problems? So instead of scrolling tonight on Instagram Reels for 10 minutes, I want you to sit in silence and think about your one area in your life that matters most to you right now and really question it. If you find yourself just agreeing with the insights you think you have and just saying yes automatically, pause for a bit and really question it. Ask why. Why is it that I, for example, don't like this job? What is it? Is it my colleagues? Is it the tasks I have? Is it the career direction I don't like? What is it? Just sit with those. That awareness can completely change your life if you decide to take action on it, if you realize that you're not somewhere you want to be, and maybe there's already a path laid ahead of you that you just haven't acknowledged. Maybe that is the positive drift that we've been talking about in this video, like my path to Copenhagen kind of was. So please, go ahead and explore for a bit. I promise you it'll be worth the 10 minutes or more if you decide to take this even more seriously. Because I'm telling you, if you think you're completely stuck right now and you can't see a way out of it, I promise you, 3 to 12 months of dedicated work can completely reinvent your life. And if you want some help with this, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm in the process of starting up a coaching business for neurodivergent men who want to overcome their self-limiting beliefs. So if that sounds something for you, or you just want to have a down-to-earth conversation with me, just send me a DM. It's completely for free. I'm just here to be a little guiding light in case you need it. I appreciate you guys being here. Hope I see you in the next video.